Okay, kia ora everyone. Saturday, we're here in New Zealand in a COVID lockdown. It's the Helpy's Rift campaign weekend for Kings of War. And so, given we're on lockdown, I'm doing a solo game. Riverguard vs Dwarves. And you may have seen the trailer I did for that last night. So I thought, given we're in this situation, I'll do a video of some points of the game at least. Maybe a bit of a brief intro to Kings of War and the rules. And see how we go. Alright. So what is Kings of War? Well, it's a miniature tabletop war game where you have masses of models. So rather than just a dozen figures or so, you tend to have a dozen units, of one or more models in each unit. So between 1 and maybe up to 40. So if you like a bit of spectacle to your gaming, this is the sort of thing people tend to like. It's made by a company called Mantic in the UK, who are very much like Games Workshop, one of the really big wargaming companies, the biggest. It's like what they were like about 15 to 20 years ago. And in fact, it is made up very largely of ex-Games Workshop staff, including the CEO, who was CEO of Games Workshop. And the reason they formed Mantic is they were not particularly happy with some of the directions that Games Workshop were going, and wanted to keep some of the flavour and ideas that they liked. So if you like the sort of games and where Games Workshop was at 15 to 20 years ago, it's likely you'll find some appeal with Mantic systems. So the other thing I thought I'd do just before I get this game underway is just do a super quick intro into the main rule concepts and how they work. So if you've played Warhammer Fantasy Battle, any of those versions, you'll recognise a lot of this. In Kings of War, being designed by the same people who made Warhammer Fantasy Battle, is essentially a speedier, cleaned up version of that. So a lot of this won't be new. So in a game of Kings of War, you're trying to achieve victory over the opponent, and there's various ways to do that, but they all involve defeating or at least not being defeated by the enemy army. So in your turn, with all your units, you can move and then shoot and cast magic and fight melee, and the opponent does the same, and you alternate turns for 6 or 7 turns, and then the game is over and you check the victory conditions. So we have a couple of units here to illustrate a couple of key concepts. So a unit of Dwarf Shield Breakers and a unit of Riverguard Tree Leapers. So let's just have a look at some details on their sheets, which I have here. So there's the information about the Dwarf Shield Breakers, and over here's the Riverguard Tree Leapers. So if we look at these statistics here, let's have a look. We've got first of all we've got regiment, and it's got 20 there. Look over here, same thing, regiment 20. So the 20 just means that the sort of number of figures you put on one of these bases, if you can. Though that can be a bit of a challenge with some of the chunkier figures these days. So you notice I managed to fit 15 dwarves on there, and these Riverguard given all their big weapons and dynamic poses, I've only managed to get a dozen on there. But the number of figures doesn't matter. It's the size of the base that does. So that's fine. And you can use your old Warhammer armies if you want on movement trays, which is what we used to do years ago. But for reasons of speed and avoiding the hassle of ranking them all up, multi-basing like this is a good option too. So these statistics here, we have speed. Okay, so the dwarves it's 4, for these tree leaper regiments 7. And so what can you do with that? So in your turn, you can move that amount as a basic move. You can go 4 for the dwarves, and they can turn up to 90 and still move 4, or they can sidestep 2 inches, or go back 2 inches, half your move in both those cases. Or if you don't turn at all, you can also go straight ahead 8 inches, double your move like that. So those are the basic options you can do. And one more, of course, is if you have enemy within 45 degrees of straight ahead of you, you can double your move and charge them, which in this circumstance is the sort of thing you'd want to do, like that, and attack them. So then we come to looking at how you do that. So if we have a look at these dwarves, you'll see they have a melee of 3, so they need 3+ to hit on every attack dice they roll. And if you look over there, they've got 12 attacks, so they're rolling 12 dice needing 3s to hit the enemy. And then to cause damage to the enemy, over here you look at the defense of these tree leapers, and it's 4, so they need 4s to wound them. So if you remember the old Warhammer, it had toughness and armour. This is kind of a combo stat which has both of those in it, counts for both of them. So what we'd normally be looking at then with these 2 units is that that dwarf unit would roll 12 dice, so we get out 12 dice, and it would need 3s to hit those River Guard, and they would then need 4s to cause damage to them. Now there's sometimes a few modifications to that though, because of special rules that units might have, which is the case here. So first off, if we look at these River Guards and their special rules, you'll notice amongst other things they have Ensnare. What that means, if they're attacked from the front, the enemy is at -1 hit them because they have tridents and nets and poison and sticky tongues and so on. So rather than needing 3s, 3, 4, 5 or 6 on a d6, the dwarves will need 4s to hit them. So let's see what happens. There we go. So that's a lot of rolls there that hit. And then, like I said, they need 4s, given the defense of 4 for the River Guard, to do damage to them. So let's see what happens. But once again, special rules for some units. And these dwarf shield breakers have crushing strength 1, and that's because they've got these big hammers here. So they do extra damage. So they add 1 to their roll. So rather than needing 4s, they need 3s. Okay, so there we go. And you can see we've done 5 damage to the River Guard. So you put a damage dice on them, taking 5 damage. And so what does that damage represent? Well, first of all, it's wounds, obviously, but also broken equipment and fatigue and just stress, information breaking up, all that sort of thing. So if you look at historical combat with troops, obviously not dwarves and frogs, but historically, when people were using these sort of weapon types, ancient medieval warfare, the actual casualties were pretty low until one side had a few holes open up in its formation, and suddenly it would just go, and it would collapse, and then it would take quite heavy casualties. So Kings of War simulates that quite nicely. So when you do damage, at the end of the melee phase, you roll to see if you waver or destroy the unit. So if we have a look at this River Guard unit, it's got a nerve value over here, NE, which for this unit is 1416. So the dwarves roll 2 dice and get a 9, and add 5 to that, the damage the unit's taken. That's a 14. And if we look at the nerve there, we see a 1416. So if you get your first value there, the waver value, 14, then that unit becomes wavered. And basically what that means, which is what's happened there, is that those River Guard are going to miss their next turn, essentially. Which will mean they're in a lot of trouble. They won't get to attack, and very likely those shield breakers would finish them off in the next turn. If they'd rolled even higher than that, and got the 16, the unit would just be gone. Nice and simple. Just come back here and mention a few other brief rules and things on this sheet. So you'll notice I've talked about the speed, the melee factor, the defense factor, the attack value. So what are these other things? And the nerve value. So what are these other things? So first of all we've got RA, which is ranged. So these have no shooting attacks, but that's what your number is there for. H, that's height. So you can only see over things which you have a higher height than. So for example, these dwarves are height 2, and these frogs are height 2, so you can't see, they can't see over each other. Unit strength. So unit strength is just a measure of how strong the unit is, really, and it's used for various things like working out who might hold a point on the table. Like in this scenario we're playing Invade, whoever has the most unit strength in the opponent's deployment zone at the end of the game wins. So the unit strength of both these units I think is 3. Yep, 3. And yeah, what else? That's about it, really. Just mention some other special rules here. What? Perhaps we'll look at these frog tree leapers. You notice they have fly, which in this case doesn't represent them actually flying but jumping. So one of their special abilities is they get to jump over enemy units, which can be quite cool. They're also nimble, which means they get an extra 90-degree turn. They're also, though, if we look at the points here, given they've got some of these extra abilities, these regiments of shield breakers are pretty good units, and they come out to 140 points, or 115, 155 if you include their throwing mastiff. whereas these tree leapers are quite expensive at 170. So, alright, that's enough about rules. Let's get into the game. Alright, on with the game. So, just a few words on how you actually do this playing solo, and just on general tactics here. So solo games, I've done them now and then over the years, especially, of course, there's occasions like this lockdown, but also times when maybe you want to play a bigger game and due to work or study or something you don't have enough time to do the full thing. You can play an hour here and there and just leave it set up. And it actually works surprisingly well. All you do, in its simplest form, and what I'll do here is just I'll go first to one side and play it the best I can, and then the other. And that seems to work fine. So the scenario here is invade, and the way you win that is you have more unit strength in the opponent's deployment zone, which is 12 inches from the back of the board edge to where those units are deployed forward there and there. So you're trying to get your units across the table into their deployment zone. And whoever has the most unit strength at the end of the game wins. So, and by unit strength, if we look here, for example, these dwarves, that big horde has unit strength of 4. That little pack there in front has a unit strength of 1. Those characters have a unit strength of 0. Just to give an indication of what unit strength is. So this is quite a challenging one for the dwarves, I'd imagine, because they're slow. So the average move of these dwarf units here, it's 4, which is not very fast at all. And whereas these River Guard, they're hopping along, most of them are going 7. It's almost twice as fast. And the other thing that makes it difficult for the dwarves here is that they're relying on, they've got quite a few shooting units, so which they need to take advantage of to kind of fight off these River Guards. So, for example, there's Bannock there, that special character. He has a 10 dice fireball. We have those cannons at the back, obviously. The rangers and the characters there with light crossbows. And I forgot to mention this Greater Earth Elemental is in fact special character Kragoth, so he also has a fireball ability. And the other thing you'll notice is these dwarves, most of the units have little at the back there, throwing mastiff, which is a one-use shooting attack. They throw it in the enemy, and it causes a bit of havoc briefly. So they're not really wanting to rush towards this River Guard army, which is pretty nasty in melee and fast. So the tactics then for the River Guard are to try and get up and smash the dwarves as quickly as possible, which kind of suits the scenario too. And meanwhile, the dwarves are going to have to try and fight them off and get across the table somehow. So that's the situation. Alright, so I've made a start, and just before the first turn, certain units, if they've scout ability, get a free move, and you alternate in the River Guard started, and so they've moved forward some of their frog swarms there, which have scout, and the free dwarves have advanced the rangers and one of the shield breaker units, and also the special character here, Kragoth, the Greater Earth Elemental here is scout, so they've advanced forward. Whether that's wise or not, we'll find out. So the dwarves won the roll off for first turn. Decided to go first, get as much shooting and so on as they can in before the river guard closes. So one of the first things we'll do here is these earth elementals. So see the stone priest who I've just painted up. Earth elementals have an ability called shambling, which means they can't move at the double, but they can be surged, which is a spell that the stone priest has. So here's surge 8. Roll a dice for them, and for every 4+ we get, 4, 5 or 6, they can move an extra inch forward, so they're going to move another 4. Next up, Kragoth here is going to use his fireball spell against one of these frog swarms. So he has fireball 10. Now spells always hit on a 4s, unless there's some sort of cover or something in the way. So he hits 6 times. And these only have defense 2, these frogs, so 2s will wound. So there we go. So that's 5 wounds on one of those frog swarms. And so I'll do the rest of the shooting for this phase. And then come back to see what the result is. And okay, so we've done all the dwarf shooting, and now we're going to roll to see what happens. So this is just a nerve check for all the units that have been damaged in the ranged phase. So first of all, this frog swarm here has taken 5 damage plus 10, so that's a 15, and they are gone. They've got a nerve of 12. So they're out of there. Next, it's this swarm here, and that was shot by these rangers and the ranger captain, and they took 6 damage. And 8 plus 6, that's 14. They're also gone. Over here, this frog swarm, it was shot by Bannock with his flamethrower. And this dwarf packmaster there, who's gets to attack with his dog each round. So they've taken 8 damage from that, plus a dice roll of 3, which is not enough to take them off. They need a total of 12, so they stay. And lastly, most importantly, this kraken here in the middle, this froghemoth, it's taken 11 damage, and that was because 2 of these cannons back here hit it, plus this elite ranger unit and Hernius, the special character, so they really trying to concentrate on that. But it's tough. It's got a nerve of just 18, so you got to get to a total of 18 to kill it. Here goes. So 3 plus 11, 14, not enough. It's still in the game. And now it's the Trident Realm turn. So, start of the Trident Realm turn. When you select the units to activate, one of the first things you do when you move them is any regeneration for these froghemoths. So what you do there is for every damage they've taken, you roll a dice and they have a regeneration 4+. So it's taken 11 damage. Roll 11 dice, and on any 4, 5 or 6 it gets the damage back, recovers it. Here we go. So not too many. So it's going to get 4 wounds back. So it's now, instead of being on 11, it's only on 7 damage. So this is the thing with these froghemoths. the dwarves, you really want to concentrate and kill them as quickly as you can, because otherwise they just heal themselves. Okay, so here's the Riverguard / Trident Realm move. As you can see, they've raced forward as fast as they can, pretty much. And they don't have any shooting or magic this turn. These frog cavalry here do have some sticky tongue attacks, but they move double, so they won't be able to do that. Here are a couple of charges from the frog swarms though. There's one there. There's one over here into the flank of Kragoth. So now these frog swarms, we'll do this one over here first. So on the side, one of the things about Kings of War is if you attack in the side, you get to double your attacks, which is normally fairly exciting, but this is only a giant frog swarm, so they're not very powerful. So they will be rolling, what have they got? 12 attacks, but they're hitting on 5s. Okay, so a few hits there. And then, oh, that's only first 12, of course. But then they need 6s to wound, because Kragoth there, he's really tough. So 6s, none. Do that again, then 5s, a few, but then needing 6s. Okay, so they do absolutely nothing, which is not that surprising. And over here, attacking the front of these dwarves. So normally these giant frogs would need 12 attacks with 5s. But they're attacking in this difficult terrain, so they're at another -1. So in fact, we end up needing 6s. So 6s. Okay, so one hit. Then they need a 5 to wound, which they get. Okay, so that dwarf unit takes the damage. There we go. We'll roll to see if the dwarves wavered on a 6/6. No. So that's that. That's the end of the Riverguard turn. Actually, just a minor detail. Now that dwarf unit is within 6 inches of this Dwarf Lord character here, who has a the Lord's Jewel, which means any dwarf unit within 6 inches of him has a rule called Iron Resolve, which means when they pass a nerve check, they recover 1 damage, which they did, so that wound on them disappears. And now it's the dwarf turn. Okay, dwarf turn 2. And now that's where it starts getting tricky, because there's lots of decisions to be made. And I think I should probably say something here about just my experience with Kings of War. So I've played about 6 games each with these armies, but none of them more than 2,000 points. And I'm certainly not the best Kings of War player in the world, so if you see some better tactics I could be using with either side, or rules I get wrong, just let me know. Good stuff. Alright. So I'll start over here with these Earth Elementals, and this will be quite simple, I think. Both Kragoth and the normal Earth Elementals are just going to charge straight ahead into that Riverguard unit, like so. I'm not measuring that because it's very clearly in, and so there'll be a line something like that. And you may be wondering what's going to happen there. So the reason that River Guard unit moved up was to try and protect the flank of that cavalry there and take a bit of a punch from those earth elementals. Now the River Guard, they do have ensnare on them, so they're at those earth elementals will be at -1 to hit them, and the earth elementals hit on a 4+. They're a bit clumsy, and so to hit the agile River Guard, they'll need 5s. If they do hit, they'll do a lot of damage though, so we'll see how that goes. Probably those River Guard tree leapers are going to crumble there. And what's next? Well, probably those dogs will charge into the flank of the frogs, like that. And now we have the Stone Priest, who, what's he going to do? So the problem there is there's all those frog cavalry coming, who can of course jump over things. Let's just see. And they are in range of him too, so perhaps he will run away a bit. So now here is where some decisions have to be made. So all those froghemoths obviously will be charging into the line. In fact, it looks like everything will be charging into the dwarves next turn. So the decision the dwarves have is, do they charge some things themselves, like perhaps this wounded froghemoth? Do they start advancing even in some places? Do they stand back and shoot? Remembering, of course, that they have to get over there at some point, with some units at least. So let's have a think, and I'll make some moves. Right, so here's the rest of the moves. So, one of those Mastiff packs has charged that froghemoth there. Not that they're going to have much chance against it, but the idea is just to slow it down a bit. And one of the ranger units has rushed forward there, just to get into a more advanced position. Maybe threaten the flanks of the froghemoths. These archers are staying here. Here's most of these units, and the idea is to damage and hopefully kill at least 1 to 2 of the froghemoths with shooting and throwing their mastiffs there as well. They've charged into that frog swarm, that ironclad unit. And over here, where things are looking a bit dicey, against these oncoming hordes, there's a couple of dogs and Bannock there with his flamethrower. Going to try and do as much damage as they can to at least one of those hordes of depth horrors, and maybe even kill one if they get a bit lucky, so we'll see how that goes. Right, so first things first, we've got the Stone Priest down here, and he is going to cast a Bane Chance on those Earth Elementals there. So he rolls 2 dice for a spell, he gets a 4, so that's a hit, which means those Earth Elementals, their Crushing Strength goes up by 1, so they're now Crushing Strength 2, so any hits they do will be wounding those Tree Leapers on 2s rather than 3s, because they already have Crushing Strength 1. Right, let's do some more stuff, and perhaps let's start over here. So first off, Bannock there is going to do his Fireball 10 on that Depth Horror horde straight ahead of him. So he hits 5 times, and their defense is only 3. They're quite vulnerable to shooting. These 3s, So there we go, that's already 4 wounds on them. And then they're going to throw their dog. So it gets 8 attacks on 4s. Only 1 hit. And it doesn't even wound, so that dog does nothing. And these guys back here will also throw their dog, 12. So, hits 4 times. It's got piercing 1, so it's going to wound on 2s. So it does another 4 damage. It's not bad, but probably not enough. They're on 8. So let's go over here. These rangers which doubled, they can't shoot. And we have all of these rangers here though. And they are going to put everything they can into that froghemoth at the back there. So let's do that. So first of all, we have a ranger captain who has 3 dice, hitting on 4s, 2 hits, needing 4s to cause a wound, nothing. We have Hernius, 3 dice on 3s, they all hit. And he, with his special crossbow, will be wounding on 2s. There we go, 3 wounds. We have the elite ranger units. So they have 12 attacks. And they'll be hitting on 4s, and because they're elite, they get to reroll 1s. So there's a lot of 1s there, so lucky they're the elite ones. So those hit. You get to reroll those 1s. You get 1 more hit from that. Then they need 4s to wound. So that's another 3. So it's up to 6 for all that shooting. These will throw their dog, the shield breakers. 4 attacks. Oh, some good hits there. And needing 3s to wound. So whack, there's another 4 already just from that. So it's looking shaky. Why not? These will throw their dog as well. 4s. 3s. So, ouch. It's up to 13 damage already. And let us go back here and use this cannon on it as well. First cannon. It's got 2 dice, it needs 5s to hit. Gets a hit. And that does D3 plus 1 damage. So it does 3. And these need 3 chances to wound it on 2s. Another 2 damage. So now that is on 15. And which means it will, to kill it, we need to roll 3 or higher, but in fact anything but double 1s, because the cannon has a special roll called shattering, which means you add 1 to the roll if it wounds something. So there's no point doing any more damage to that at the moment. It's as damaged as it needs to be. So let's throw everything else, perhaps at this damaged one here. So first of all we'll do the Packmaster, do his attacks with his dog. and he gets 5 hits, and he does 3, so that one is up to 10 wounds. And let's shoot a cannon at it. Back here, the first cannon, it misses. Let's shoot this next cannon at it. Hits twice. Ooh. But only does 4 on 2s. There's another 4. So that one is now on 14. So it's pretty damaged. We've got one more dog we could throw at it, which we might just do to make sure it dies. So let's do that. The last dog. So 4 hits, and 3s, so another 3. So probably those 2 Kraken are dead now. Okay, so that's all the shooting that can be done. So let's start, see if we can kill things. So first off, that Kraken at the back there. So we roll, it's double 1. Good grief. So it stays there. Okay, and now the Kraken at the front gets a 4, which plus 15 is 19. It's got a route value of 18, so it's dead. Now what happens though is, because it is within 6 inches of this guy here, he's inspiring, so anything within 6 inches you have to re-roll the test. So let's re-roll that test. 4, so it's still dead. So 1 Kraken down. And the other shooting was against this depth horror unit, which took 8 plus 6 plus 8 is 14. So if I just check them, they're 16, 18, so they're fine. Alright, let's do the combat here. So this dwarf fought against these frogs. We have 25 attacks. So I think this is 25, and they'll be hitting on 4s. I think there's one more which needs to be rolled, and waiting on 2s. So they're almost certainly dead, those frogs. Actually, wait, no, they've gotten snare, those frogs, so it's hitting on 5s actually. Now winning on 2s. Okay, so another 5. So those frogs are on 13. So anything but double 1s, and they're gone. And the last combat over here. So first of all, so he has 12 attacks, hitting on 4s, about -1, so 5s. So he hits a few times, only 3 times in fact. Crushing strength 3 against defense 4, so he needs 2s, so he does 3 damage to them. And now the earth elementals have 18 attacks, hitting on 4s, 5s. So let's see if they can do it. few. Yep, and weaning on 2s. There's another 6 wounds, that's quite a lot. Alright, let's see if they kill them. So 9 plus 4 is 13, and they're fine. So no, they didn't do it. Oh dear. Oops. Actually, there's one more combat over here. The dogs against the frog behemoth. So what have they got? 9 attacks. And hitting on 4s. 4s, yep. So it's reasonable. And 4s to wound. 1. Okay. And a double 6 always wavers unless, like these Krakens, oh no, you can waver them, yep, and no. In fact, I was looking at that those Kraken wrong. They're 17, 19. For some reason I thought they were 18. Interesting. Okay, don't think it would have made any difference. Alright, so that then is the end of the dwarf. Oh no, here we go. So these mastiffs attacking the frogs. So 9 attacks, attacking them in the flank, doubled is going to be 18 attacks, which will probably kill the frogs. So 4s and 2s. Okay, so 6 wounds. So 6 plus 7, 13, they're gone. And there is a hero there who couldn't spy them, but he's not of the right type, so they're just dead. Okay. Now, something, if you do want to combat like that, you get, your options are to go backwards or sideways D3, or to go forward D6. I think they're probably, actually no, what they'll do is they'll go forward D6, I think. Yeah, so go forward 6, or as far as they can, so they'll just bump into the back of that. There we go. Alright, and I could have done that over here with these Ironclad 2, but I think they're fine where they are. So now it is the Trident Realms turn. Okay, so turn 2 for the River Guard, Trident Realms. And they've taken a fair bit of damage. They lost all their frog swarms and one of the Kraken. These depth horrors here are pretty wounded, so feeling is the dwarves aren't doing too bad so far. But let's see how we go. So first things first, 2 wounded Kraken here to regenerate. The one on the left there, it's taken 1 damage, and it gets it back, and it charges those dogs. There's not much else it can do at the moment. And now this one here, which has taken a heap of damage, is that 15. See when it gets back. So not very many by the looks of it. Oh dear. Only 4. It's not rolling very well for the regeneration, but every bit helps. So down to 11. Okay. And now what is it going to do? I think it's got a few things that can potentially charge. I think what makes most sense is probably for that Kraken and Ektar to both charge that Mastiff pack straight ahead, so that's what they'll do. And they go. Now, what do we do over here? So once again, there's quite a few options. And one sneaky thing here with this troop of tree leapers, where I said they can fly, you'll notice they can in fact see and get to this Packmaster there, which is an option. And down here, so this Mastiff pack there is preventing my depth horrors from charging into that horde in front. So let's have a think about what to do. Alright, so I think what we'll do is indeed that. So these tree leapers are jumping over there and hitting him. This will charge in there. And here, the other tree leapers undecided what to do, because of course they could jump over the house behind there, but in fact they're going to be bold and jump all the way over here and attack that unit, which opens up the possibility of this Riverguard Sentinel character of charging together with the Depth Horror Eternal at Bannock. And the Riverguard Sentinel is a bit of an assassin character, so he doubles his attacks against characters, and the Depth Horror Eternal is just big and strong, so that should make a mess. And then these two units will charge there. I think they're on 8. And you'll notice the other tree leaper troop has jumped down there and turned to face the line. So, lastly, over here, so first off, the sticky tongue attack from this Sentinel Stone Priest. It's 4 dice, hits on 4s. There's no cover where he's standing there. So 3 hits. So the first effect of that is that the Stone Priest gets dragged 3 inches towards the frog. It's not where he wants to be going. And the next effect is you also roll to damage the Stone Priest. So 3, and I'm not sure what his defense is. I'll just check. So he is defense 5, so it's only 1 wound on him. And that's all the shooting we've got, and magic we've got, so let's roll to see if we do anything to him. Oh my goodness, 10, 11. And he is wavered. Interesting, so that means he'll be very limited in what he can do next turn, and might be able to cast spells, so that actually was quite useful. What next? Let's do combat. So first off, we'll start here with these Riverguard against Kragoth. So they've got 12 attacks, I think. Yep. So 6. And they hit on 4s. So there's a few hits. And they would normally need 6s, but they have crushing strength 1, so they're going to wound them on 5s. So 3. Not too bad. Right. And we'll do the break test for Kragoth. Oh, 10, 13, but he's fine. I think he's dash 18 or something. Does nothing. Okay, the Dam Busters into the dogs. So 18 attacks. Hitting on 4s. And they'll be wounding on 2s. So what's that? That's 6, 9 wounds plus they're dead. So they kill the dogs, they're gone. And because they've won that combat, they can go for D6 or they can go back or sideways. And I should have said the other thing they can do is pivot on the spot, which is what they'll do. They'll turn like that. Like that maybe actually. So next, let's go along here. Got the Kraken here, Froghemoth against this next dog pack. So he has 12 attacks. And he hits on 4s, so not that good at hitting things. Okay, so only 4 hits and 2s, so 4 wounds, and roll to kill them. 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 with the dogs. So they're wavered, so he doesn't even manage to kill them. Okay. And I'm just going to put some markers down on those 2 wavered things just so I remember. What's next? Here. The same again. Got 12 attacks from the Kraken against these dogs. 4s. It's better. 2s. So that's 8 wounds so far. And then Ektar will hit them as well. And he has 6 attacks, hitting on 3s. And crushing strength 2, winning on 2s. That's another 2 wounds. So those dogs are up to 10. And it's rolled 10 plus 4, 14. Now there is a Packmaster there who is inspiring them, who I should have attacked first actually. So I've got to re-roll that, but they're dead anyway. Now what to do with these? I think the Kraken better what to do. Let's run forward with Ektar firstly. So he goes forward 1 and the Kraken will turn to face like this. Next, the Tree Leapers against the Packmaster. So that's 10 attacks, hitting on 4s. Oh, not very many at all, just 2 hits. And he has defense 4, so I need 3s to wound. So 1 wound on him, it's not very good at all. And let's roll to see what happens to him. 7, 8. And he is 10, 12, so nothing. The next Kraken into those dwarves there. Now, he would be at -1 because he's charging into the difficult terrain, except that being a Kraken, he has Strider ability, so he just ignores it. So it's attacks needing 4s. Not very good at all. 4 hits. And being a Kraken, he has crossing strength 2. So you normally need 5s, he needs 4s, 3s against those ironclad. So 3. See, there's 3 wounds. Not much. Dwarves are pretty tough. And the roll double 6 to waver them, which he doesn't get. And because they're still within 6 of the dwarf, Dwarf Lord, they recover a wound. Over here. So let us do that troop of tree leapers who have charged the dwarves. So they've got 10 attacks, hitting on 4s. So a few hits. And they've got crushing 1, so they'll wound on 4s. So 3 wounds. And nothing else can hit those dwarves this turn, so let's do the test. And they're fine, and they recover 1 of them because of the Dwarf Lord. And then let's do these 2 characters here attacking Bannock and see what happens. I'm not sure how this will go. So first of all, let's try the Riverguard Sentinel, who normally has 4 attacks. Because he has duelist ability, he doubles that to 8. And he'll be hitting on 3s. Okay, so 5 hits. 4 hits. And he has crushing 1. So wounding normally on 5s, on 4s. So it does 2 wounds to Bannock. And then we have the Depth Horror Eternal character. So let's see here, 5 attacks. On 3s, I think. Yep. And he has crushed 2, so he'll be wounding on 3s. So that's another 4 wounds. So Bannock's just gone up to 6. And there's nothing else that can hurt him, so let's see what happens. So 7. So that's a 13. What is Bannock? So he is wavered. Okay. Now dwarves, some dwarves, most dwarves in fact, have a special roll called Headstrong, which gives them a chance to avoid that waver result in their turn if they roll a 3+. So he might not have done enough. We'll see. And lastly, these unfortunate dogs here. So I'll just do the first pack of Depth Horrors. So 18 attacks, hitting on 3s. And winning on 2s. So what's that? That's 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So anything but double 1s. They're gone. They're within 6 of the Dwarf Lord though, so they have to re-roll, and they're still gone. Alright. And what will these Depth Horrors do? I think they will both advance. So this unit goes forward 1. And the next unit goes forward full 6. So they'll get to about there. Right. So that is the end of turn 2. Okay, dwarf turn 3. So first off, let's see if the dwarves ignore the waiver result. So Bannock on a 3+, yep, so he's okay. Though because he's been wounded in combat, he can't use magic this round. And the Stone Priest, no, so he is still wavered. Alright. Okay, so let's start with the dwarf turn. So, the Stone Priest. I don't think there's much he can do. So he'll just stand there. Let me know in the comments if there's something better that could be done. Now, there is some good things that can happen with these elementals though. So first of all, because of the where those ones are positioned, their centre point is in the flank of the River Guard, so they're going to charge them in the flank like that. And Kragoth, in his front arc, is those guys there, so he's actually going to turn and charge them, which is something you can do in some situations in Kings of War. Over here, I think those rangers are just going to keep running as fast as they can. Because they're rangers, they've got Pathfinder, so they're going to run down here. There we go. Or actually, will they do that? In fact, what they might do is not quite go that far at this point, and they'll go there and pivot. So they can help out against this Kraken if necessary. Now these wavered mastiffs, all they can do is halt. We'll go back. So they're going to go back. Let's retreat back. Maybe not that much. Maybe just a little bit. What next? This is where some more decisions need to happen. And so we've got these cannons and we've got damaged Kraken. Let's have a think. So these shield breakers will help out the Packmaster, so they'll pivot and charge. And the Packmaster will countercharge in there as well. Now, do we attack that Kraken? Do we run past it? Choices. So at the moment, there's also that Kraken in the background there. So I think the shield breakers will in fact charge that Kraken. We're going to try and put lots of shooting on that Kraken at the back there. They'll charge into that Kraken. These ironclad will charge the troops right in front of them. Now what's Bannock doing? Well, he's pretty tough, so he might smack that sentinel back, and the Dwarf Lord will, why not? He'll charge and attack the Death Horror Eternal. And here we go. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so I've just finished doing the Ranger shooting on the Kraken, which was at -1 to hit because he's partially in the trees there. But nonetheless, all the Rangers, they did 7 wounds, so let's see what happens now when we fire cannons at him. So the first cannon And they're not at -1 because they've got a Gnaw cover on them, and he's not at least 50% in the wood. So needing 5s to hit, miss. The second cannon, 1 hit. That's 4 chances to wound on 2s, so that's 4 more wounds to 11. And the next cannon, 2 hits. So that's another 5 chances to wound 2s. So another 5. Things looking grim for that Kraken. And so what's that? No more shooting at it. And of course, this pack here is height 1, so people can shoot over that at that Kraken quite easily. So anything but double 1s. Oh my goodness, it lives. Again, these are very lucky Krakens. So that's all the shooting, so we'll go on to combat. So I've skipped over this combat here, but Kragoth smacked these damn busters and did 5 wounds to them. Those Earth Elementals destroyed the River Guard, just turned to face. Let's go across here. So we have these shield breakers against the Kraken. It's 12 attacks, and 3s to hit, but 4s to hit because they would snare for all the tentacles on the Kraken. So, oh dear, not many. About average. And 3s to wound. So they do 4 wounds to it. Will that be enough though? Alright. And now the next shield breakers. Attacking those River Guard in front of them. Again needing 4s and then 3s. So they do 4 wounds to them. And then the Packmaster, who also attack them. So he has 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, so 1 hit. And he has Crushing Grief 1, so that's 1 more wound. Okay. Actually, I should have done the morale there. So first off, the Kraken. So 6 plus, it's on 11, 15, so that'll be dead. And again, it's dead. Got the reroll due to Ektar there, but it's gone. And those shield breakers are going to run forward D6. They go 3. And here, so we've done 5 wounds to them. And we get a 9, which I think will be enough to get rid of them. Let's just check. They are 10, 12, so they'll be dead. The reroll due to Ektar though. 6 plus 5 is 11, so they are wavered. Now against the Horde, against the Kraken, so they normally need 4s, but the ensnare on the Kraken means they need 5s. So they've got 25 attacks on 5s. So 5s and then 4s. and 4s. So they do 5 wounds to it. And let's see if they waver it. No. Okay. Over here, so same again. There's the Riverguard troop in front of them. The shield, the ironclad against that Riverguard troop. 25 attacks, needing 5s of the ensnare. And then needing 4s. So what's that? It is 4 wounds on them. And see if they are killed. Got a 10. So they will be, but there's a sentinel there who inspires them. So it's a 6 plus 4, 10. So I think that wavers them. Yes, it does. So Bannock against the sentinel. He has 6 attacks, normally needing 4s, but 5s because of the ensnare on the sentinel. So he hits 3 times. He's got good crushing strength, and he wounds 3 times. So the sentinel, does he kill him? 10, 13, that'd be dead. Reroll because of inspiring. Sentinel inspires himself. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, so that's nothing. And the Lord, it's 5 attacks against the Power Eternal. So needing 3s, but 4s because of ensnare. So 3 hits. And it's defense 4, so needing 3s. He's got crush 1. So 2 wounds on the Power Eternal. And does he do anything to him? Probably not. No. Okay. So that is the end of Dwarf turn 3, and it's not going too bad really. Yeah, we're definitely winning over here by the looks of things, the dwarves. It's just a bit unpleasant down here. Alright, the Trident Realms Riverguard turn. Now if this was a competition game and I was using the Trident Realms, I wouldn't be feeling particularly confident at this point. But let's see what we can do. So first off, over here, the Dam Busters unfortunately don't have too many good options here. They've been wounded by Kragoth there, which means they can't jump over them. If you take damage in close combat, you lose your fly and nimble abilities. They're just going to charge straight into him like that. And over here, the hero, I think he is going to, in fact he'll do that first. He'll charge down the Stone Priest. They'll centre up on him. Over here, let's see if we can get some better regeneration luck with this Kraken. 4, so that's better. How many is that? So that's 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 gone. Okay, and he will, annoyingly, he doesn't really have much choice there. He'll just have to charge those dogs again. Okay. Let's do this next Kraken over here. Five chances to regenerate. Oh, completely healed. He'll charge in there. Well, now we have these wavered frogs. And Ektar. So, given the options, not particularly great. I think Ektar is going to turn and just charge into the side of them like that. Is anything better he can do? I guess he could instead try to charge towards those cannon. What's better? It's about the same, I think. So we'll do that. And over here, now unfortunately for Riverguard, we've got these wavered troop here, but we can still do a double charge here with these two. So they'll charge in there, and they'll charge in there. Those will just back off. These will come forward. Oh, not that far. There we go, and these will charge those two characters. And that is it. So let's start with combat here. Attacking Kragoth with the Dambuster Horde, 18 attacks on 4s. And their special ability, they've got Crushing and Thunderous Charge, which adds to their chance to damage, but because they've been damaged, they lose the Thunderous Charge. So they only got +1 here rather than +3. So they're going to be wounding him on 5s. And they do another 3 damage to him. So not much. So he is now on 6. Let's see if they do anything to him. Using some horrendously high number. 10, 16. And he is -19, so nothing. And he gets a reroll anyway because he inspires himself. What about over here? This is the doom of the Stone Priest. So we get 5 attacks on 3s from the Dambuster Sentinel. And he gets to reroll one of them because he's got a Blade of Slashing. And he wounds on 2s. So 3 more wounds. It's up to 4. And what do we get here? So 7 plus 4. So that's not enough to kill him, he's just wavered. Okay. And actually, I just see here, looking at these Dambusters, they're regeneration 6+. So I might get some wounds back on these ones here, let's see. No, nothing. Okay. Right. Let's see if this guy can finish off some dogs. So 4s. 2s. So another 6 damage on them. Anything but double 1s. And they're dead. And what is the Kraken going to do? It might get close to those dwarves. Okay. So what it might do, in fact, is turn to face like that. Okay. Next, do Ektar there. So he's attacking the flank, but he's only a character, so he doesn't add more attacks. That doesn't double his attack for attacking the flank. But he'll do 6 attacks sitting on 3s. And wounding on 2s. So that's 4 damage to that unit. It also means they can't shoot. And let's see if he does anything more than that. 10, 14. So that's wavered. Okay, so that troop, now they were just going to back up slightly and do nothing else. So they're wavered. this next Frog Hometh. It's these ironclad. So it does how many? 6 hits into wounds. So only 4. So you're up to 6. See if it does anything to them. No. Over here. Alright. So we've got, let's start with this attacks on this dwarf horde. See if we can take them out. So in the flank we've, for a start, got the Riverguard Tree Leapers doubling their attack, so they go from 12 to 24, hitting on 4s. First 12 hitting on 4s, and with crushing 1, wounding on 4s. So they do 3 more damage, take them up to 5. And then they do the same thing again, because they're doubling their attacks for a flank attack. 4s, and 4s, another 5. So they're on up to 10. And now we have these Depth Horror Eternals. They're doing 18 attacks, needing 3s. And then needing 4s, I think. Crushing 1, yes. So they do another 6 wounds. So that takes those dwarves up to 16. And those can't attack because they're wavered. So do we kill them? I should have attacked the dwarf lord first here, of course, but see what happens. 16 plus 10, 26. So they'll be dead. They have to re-roll because of the dwarf lord. 6 plus 16, and the nerve of a dwarf horde is 21, 23. So 6 plus 16 is 22. Anything they have? No, they don't. So those dwarves live, and they're just wavered. And they recover a wound because of passing. Actually, no, they didn't pass a check. They were not steady, so they don't recover a wound. Next, let us hit the Dwarf Lord with the Depth Horror Eternal. 5 attacks on 3s. Crush 2. Now the Dwarf Lord is tough. He's defense 6, so needing 4s. So 3 wounds on him though. So 3 plus 6, 9. I'm sure a Dwarf Lord is fine. The Sentinel though on Bannock is up to 8 attacks because of duelist ability. Hitting on 3s. Oh, they all hit. And crush 1. Needing 4s. So that's another 4 wounds on Bannock. So Bannock is now up to 10 wounds. He might be going down. So 10 plus 7, 17, that's dead. Reroll for inspiring, 15. So 15, and Bannock is 14, so he's gone. And the Dwarf Sentinel, I mean the Riverguard Sentinel, will not really do. In range of that cannon, he might just wait there. Okay. So that is the end of turn 3. Getting rather quicker now for the Riverguard. Okay, so start of dwarfs, turn 4, and well, it's not looking too bad. The dwarfs really need to be getting the units into the enemy deployment zone too. So first off, waiver tests. The headstrong ability for the dwarves. The dwarf priest, stone priest, to see if he ignores it on a 3+, and he does, so he's not wavered. Who else? These rangers here. Now the rangers unfortunately do not have the headstrong ability, instead they have other abilities, so they're going to remain wavered. And these ironclad, they are not wavered either. Okay. So the dwarves, I think, need to get some of their units across the table now. Finish off some of these wounded units over here. And do as much damage as they can and stop these other units getting across. So let's do that. So dwarf moves very simply. The stone priest is disengaged and jumped over the hedge there. The earth elementals have charged those dam busters. What else has happened? The shield breakers have charged that troop. The other shield breakers and the ironclad have charged the kraken. And over here, the ironclad have charged that troop of tree leapers, and the Lord has charged back into the Depth Horror Tunnel. So let's see how this goes, shooting first. Okay, so that ranger troop, the 2 ranger heroes, not those rangers because they were disordered by Hector there, and the 3 cannons, they all shot that kraken and got it up to 18 wounds, so anything for double 1. And 3, so he is gone. And here all the earth elementals, they've hit the dam busters. They're up to 16 damage, so anything but a double 1 for them as well. So dead, and because the hero there is nearby, it has to be re-rolled, but they're still dead. Next we have lots of attacks against these units. So we have 12 attacks from the shield breakers against the Riverguard troop, in 3s, 4s because of the ensnare. And then 3s to wound. That's another 6 damage to them. And the Packmaster hits once, doesn't wound, so roll for them. It's an 8, so they're dead. Is Hector close enough? He's just out, so they're gone. And the shield breakers will advance D6, so they go forward 1. And actually, so well, the Packmaster will go back D3. So he goes back 2. We'll attack the Kraken. So first, the shield breakers on the side, doubling their attacks. So, and no -1 now, because they're free dwarves, so they have pathfinders, so aren't affected by this difficult terrain, and also they're not attacking the front of the Froghemoth, so that could be fairly grim for the Froghemoth 3s. and then 3s to wounds, so that's 8 damage. And then they do that again, because they double their attacks for a flank attack. Threes. So, another 9. So anything but a double 1 would kill it, so I won't bother doing these attacks yet. And it's dead. And there's no one round to re-roll that, so that dies. Okay. And so they will shuffle sideways, D3. They go 3. Oops. And the horde here will also run forward. They go 6. So they hit there. There we go. And over here, so we have the Lord will attack the Depth Horror. So he needs 3s this time because he's already in combat. As you know, the ensnare still counts, so 4s. So only 2 hits and 1 wound. So the Depth Horror goes up to 3. And, oh, so that's 11 re-rolled. And I think he is still okay. So the Ironclad doing 25 attacks, normally needing 4s, but down to 5s for attacking this troop. So he needs that. Okay, and then 4s to wound them. So that is 4 more wounds. So they're up to 8 wounds. And let's see if they break. So that'll break them, but they get to re-roll because of the sentinel there. And they're still dead. There we go. Alright, and these ironclads, what can they do? They can perhaps pivot slightly about their centre, and they get to something like that maybe. Well, that's probably the best we can do. Alright, end of the dwarf turn. And going rather well. So Riverguard turn, and they don't have much left. There's only turn 4. So what can they do? Right, here are the moves. So the Depth Horrors are crashing into that horde of dwarves. Both the Riverguard heroes are attacking the Dwarf Lord. The Tree Leapers have jumped over to attack that cannon. And over here, Ektar is attacking the Rangers again, and behind them, the Riverguard Dambuster hero is racing along to threaten things. So, there's no shooting, let's do the combat, and we'll start with Ektar here. So he has 6 attacks, sitting on 3s, and he's wounding on 2s. He does 3 more damage to them. And does he kill them? 7-14. So that's another waiver result. And I've done the attacks from those River Guard against the cannon. And against War Engines, you always triple your attacks. And so they've done 9 wounds to the cannon. And 5, 9, 14. So it's destroyed. And they will advance another d6 inches. So they go 5. Where's the next cannon? Over here. So both the River Guard heroes attack the Dwarf Lord. He takes another 6 wounds. So he's on 9. And the roll to kill him is a 6. So that's 15. Which would kill him. So you roll again. And he's still dead. And the characters will... what will they do? I think the Sentinel might go back D3. Goes back 3. Yep. And the Depth Horror will turn to face perhaps like that. Okay. And I've just done the attacks and killed off the Dwarf Horde, and the Depth Horrors have advanced. Okay, so that is the end of the Trident Realms, turn 4. So here's the dwarf movement, with lots of the dwarves racing over towards the other side of the board now, and as fast as they can. The 2 ranger captains there have come back to see if they can help out. So let's do shooting first. So we have Stone Priest, who has survived and is back in action, and is going to make the front Earth Elementals run forward a bit. And he's got a surge spell of 8, and so they're going forward an extra 5. So that's that. We have these rangers here who are down here going to shoot this hero. So the first ranger captain, who's moving and in the woods, so not good. Needs 4, 5, needs 6s to hit. No hits. Junius, he'll need 5s. 1 hit. Does wound. And let's see what it does. Nothing. Now these cannons, which are in a bit of trouble, and I think they're going to try and shoot Hector there. So he's an individual, so you might as well want to shoot individuals. So I'll need 6s to hit. If they do hit, I could potentially kill him. So let's see. First one misses. Second one also misses. Never mind. And the Packmaster is going to try and get this damaged unit of Depth Horror Eternals. 6 attacks, then 4s, That's 3 hits. Needing 2s to wound. So that's 2 more wounds on them, they're up to 10. And to kill them. So that's 17. And that is enough to waver them, in fact. Okay. And that is the end of turn 5. Trident Realm turn 5. So the Depth Horrors have just advanced and turned. And the wavered one just turned. The Tree Leapers have charged another cannon. And Ektar and this hero have charged the rangers there. And the 2 Riverguard heroes have charged into the flank of this ironclad unit. So perhaps let's start with that combat and see if they can achieve anything. So there's 5 attacks from the Depth Horror Eternal. He's not an individual, so he does actually double that, so up to 10. Hitting on 3s. That's not a good roll. And then needing normally 5s, but 4s, 3s because of his crushing strength. So that's 4 damage that he does. And the other Riverguard Sentinel is just a normal hero, an individual, so he gets 4 attacks against this. He doesn't double his attacks. So 3s and then 4s. So only does 1 wound. So they go up to 5. So not enough really. And a 10 plus 5 is 15. Those dwarves are fine. Okay, let's go over to this one. So we have Ektar attacking again. 6 attacks. On 3s. And then 2s, so that's another 4 damage. And then in the side, we've got the Riverguard Sentinel, who doubles his attacks because he's classed as a monster on that big frog. 10 attacks, hitting on 3s normally, 4s because he's charging into the woods. So we get a few hits and hitting 3s, I think, or is it? No, it is in fact 2s. So that's 5 more wounds. So anything but a double 1 will kill them. Dead, and reroll because they've got a hero nearby, and they're gone. And lastly against the cannon, the Tree Leapers do 8 wounds, and it's dead. Okay, Dwarf turn 6, which could be the last turn, or if we roll a 4+, then it goes to turn 7. So let's see what they do. Dwarves running into the end zone. As many of them as they can. This cannon has turned around here. Now it can't shoot its usual shot doing that, but it can fire a grape shot, which isn't very good usually, but gets lucky and it might do something. So let's see what happens. These 2 ranger captains have charged that hero. So first things first, the Stone Priest is hopefully going to get Kragoth into the right place on the board. So 8 dice on a surge, and oh my gosh, 1. So he goes forward 1 inch, which is not enough. I needed another inch or 2. Never mind. So here, oh, got shooting here. So now this is an important one with the Packmaster throwing his dog at that wounded depth horror pack. You can take them out. It's going to really hurt the Trident Realm's cause. So four hits and 4 more wounds on them, so they're going to be very shaky. They're on 14 and the roll is a 6, so it's 20 and they are gone. Okay, let's do this grape shot from the cannon. It's a grape shot. It was 10 dice, piercing 1, but they only hit on 6s, so let's see, oh, 2 hits, and that will need 3s to wound, 2 wounds. See if it does anything. Or no. Couple heroes attacking here. So he has Junius first, 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. So that's 3 hits. Wounding on 3s, so that's 3 wounds. Oh, he's already taken 1, so that's up to 4. And the Ranger Captain, 3 hitting on 4s, 1. Actually hitting on 3s, sorry, so that was 2, and wounding on 4s. So it's another 1 to 5. And the roll is 8, 13. And that is a waiver. So, turn 6 for the Trident Realm. 2 heroes have charged into the back of these dwarves, who I realise actually had 5 wounds back there, so they're on 10, so that could hurt a bit actually. Over here, the Riverguard hero, he's backed up. Hector's charged the last cannon. These Riverguard have charged the Packmaster, and the Depth Horrors have just advanced. So just to quickly sum up there, Hector wavers that cavern, does 8 damage to it. The Tree Leapers kill the Packmaster and back up. And let's do this combat here. So it's first of all 4 attacks from the little hero. 2 hits, 4s, 1 wound. So they're up to 11. Now the really dangerous bit, because he's attacking in the rear, and the other one, being a monster, triples his attacks. So this could be rather bad. So, at least it's protecting the other units. So what do we get? That many, and then needing 3s. So not too bad in the end. So 3 more, but still pretty brutal. So 2 more. And does it kill them? So 6, 18, 19, 20. No. They're still good. Amazing dwarves. And that's the end of turn 6 for the Trident Realm. So we roll a dice to see if it goes to turn 7. 4 plus it does. And it does. Okay. Turn for the dwarves. You see most of the dwarves have made it comfortably into the enemy half of the table. Most of the surviving dwarves, that is. This horde has turned around to give that Depth Horror a good thump. And down here, these 2 Ranger Captains are going to try and take out the hero here. So let's do that. So the Captain needing 3s, and then needing 4s, nothing. Junius, 3s, and then needing 3s. So 2 more wounds. And will that be enough? So 6 plus 7 is 13. So that's 1 off, and let's wave it again. Over here, 25 attacks against that Deep Thorough Eternal. Needing 4s, 5s because of the ensnare. So we've got some and then needing 4s. Oh, a lot. So 8 wounds. Go up to 11. And does that kill him? So a 6, 11, 17, that'll do it. And again, and he's dead. And the Trident Realm turn, there's not much to do. There's this charge from him into there, just for the sake of it. And Iktar finishing off the cannon over there. So, 4 attacks here, that will hit. And he does 2 wounds, bring them up to a respectable 16. And does it kill them? 8 plus 16 is 24. So he does it. And Iktar over there, finishing off that cannon. And that's it. The game is over. So as you can see, the dwarves have rather more units than unit strength in the Trident Realms deployment zone. So they have 2 shield breakers, ranger regiment, and the earth elementals. So that's 3 for that unit, 1 for Kragoth. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 13, total 13. If we come over to the Trident Realms, we've only managed to get those 2, so that's 6, and that hero is 1, so that's total 7, so 13 to 7. So quite a convincing win then to the dwarves. So there we go, that's Kings of War at 3,000 points. Here we usually play 2,000, but thanks for having a look, and I'd be interested to hear any comments you might have, especially about better tactics and so on. Thanks for watching. Cheers.